Welcome to Basin Electric's 2020 annual meeting. It doesn't seem like it's been an entire year since we were doing this, and it's such a changed year. I guess it seems like that it went very fast, but yet it's been a challenging year, and it's been an interesting year, let me tell you. I'll start by saying I think that we could have never made this or got this done without you, the membership. You know, you were so supportive and engaged, and that meant a lot to us. You know, this broke, and I'm thinking, what's going to transpire here now? All these companies were having such a hard time, and I kept thinking, well, we're not Delta Airlines, right? We're going to be fine. And your active support really meant the greatest to us in keeping Basin Electric very strong. You know, I think the first thing we thought about when we headed into this was the safety of our employees, right? How do we keep our employees safe? You know, I want to start by thanking our entire workforce for all their diligent work in keeping us operating through all of this. You know, I especially want to thank our essential employees, our people who keep operations going on a daily basis. Could have never made it without them. I'm here to tell you every day they're asked to go in, they're asked to keep our plants going. We would have never got this done without them. And then I also want to have a shout out to our IS&T employees, because they made it possible. They made it possible for our non-essential workforce to work remotely, and it's worked pretty well. So all of those put together, I think, has really made this whole thing possible and has really made our success possible here so far in 2020. You know, as this broke, I was thinking that this is going to totally change the dynamics of the workforce. What's going to happen here? Because in the beginning, it was very evident that we were so successful working from home. We really, really were. And I was thinking, well, does this mean that we'll no longer have any kind of headquarters at all anymore and everybody works from home? As time passed and I began to talk to other CEOs and others who were also experiencing the same thing we were experiencing, and some of the conclusions we came to is it probably will be somewhat mixed. And why I say that, I think there'll always be some aspect or positive aspect of people coming to a headquarters building for a couple of reasons. One might be the collaboration. There just won't be the collaboration if everybody's working from home, where if you're in an office setting, somebody can ask a question over a cubicle or get together, even if it's at the water fountain or whatever it is. The other one is somewhat more unique to us as a cooperative, and it's our cooperative culture. And I think, how can we pass that cooperative culture along if we're not, at least some of us, in the same setting? So I think it's really a mixed bag. I do believe that there'll be a lot of jobs that we now can truly work from home very efficiently and effectively. I think each job may have to be evaluated to see which ones can and which ones cannot. But I think it'll be a mix. I still think that there'll be a place for people to come to the workplace and still work together collaboratively. As to the impact on Basin Electric, you know, we immediately saw the fall in prices, as everybody did, and that meant natural gas, that meant oil, some of the cryolics and the chemicals that are produced at the Synfluence plant. We immediately saw a drop in our loads, particularly up in the Basin, as much as 400 megawatts load drop. But, you know, we are seeing those slowly come back. Now they're back to probably where they were prior to COVID coming along, but I really think that you're probably going to see more of a slow growth or a slower growth in terms of what comes on in the coming months and maybe in 2021. So coming back, but slowly, quite frankly. Speaking of loads, one of the things that we've been working very hard upon over this past year is our FERC regulation. And I know we spoke to you a year ago about this. This really occurred due to the fact that we had a couple of our members get large enough so that they passed a threshold where they became FERC regulated, which in turn had us become FERC regulated. I think the key to this and the takeaway from all this, it's going very well. We've had a couple of 2 or 3 of our dockets already approved. We're only working on a couple that are left yet. And as I said, I think the key here really is that it's going very well. Speaking of growth and what's going on at Basin Electric and our resources, you know, I think all of you know, and we've said this often and often, we are an all of the above utility. And when I say all of the above, that's coal, that's gas, that's wind, and now solar, quite frankly. And we're very proud to say today that we have just announced two purchase power agreements for solar with contractually. These will come on later, 2023, 2024, because it's obviously going to take time to get permits and get them built. But they become a very essential part of our resource portfolio. And you know, because we're a growing cooperative, we continue to have to search for other sources of resources. And I think at this point I want to stop just for a minute, and because I reference being a grower. And at this point I'd really like to welcome our newest member that's just come on, and that's the Wyoming Municipal Power Agency, who will be a new member starting in 2021. And that's just part of our growing utility, and I want to welcome them because they become such an essential part of us as a growing cooperative. And as we take a look at our resources to be able to build into this growth, we try and take more of a look at resources that are low carbon or no carbon. I think we all should come to the realization that we're going to be living in a carbon-constrained world. There's just no doubt about it. And so we're working with some of the producers, Bakken Midstream up in the Bakken right now, trying to see if there's a way that we can take some of the energy that's being flared off of wells and burning it in and making it into a natural gas turbine so that we can use it for power for our growing load. So we're working on a lot of other things. We're trying to do these things in the most efficient and effective manner in keeping your rates as low as possible. But at the same time, our members are also asking us, you know, we have a lot of coal, and we're seeing the less reliance upon coal. We're seeing too that we're living in a carbon-constrained world, and we're listening to that. There's no doubt about that. We're listening to that. The issue really becomes many of those plants have a lot of economic value on the books yet. They have debt against them, and so to just drop an end gate and shut them down really doesn't work very well. We're trying to see what is the most efficient and effective way that we can get them to be written off the books and then become less reliant upon them. And I'm not here to tell you we're not going to utilize our coal. We are. There's no doubt about it. We cannot do it without coal for the next 15, 20 years at least. It's going to just be something gradual. And speaking of coal, one of the projects that we're most excited about, or very excited about, is our ITC project, our Integrated Test Center at Dry Fork Station. Via that specific project, we are demonstrating about 5 different technologies that would extract carbon from the flue or the back end of the plant, and trying to find ways to be able to do this. At the same time, the carbon safe people are also drilling wells for the potential storage of this CO2. You know, I'd have to stop and say if this can be done, Dry Fork Station will be, if not one of the most or cleanest coal plants in America, if you think about it. I mean, we can scrub for SO2 to 99%. We can take care of the mercury and the NOx via our SCR. This would take or be the last step, essentially, to be able to extract the CO2 and inject it. It would be the last step to make it one of the cleanest coal plants in America. So we're very excited about this. The other thing I really would like to do is shout out to Senator Barrasso for all his help in getting us the Use It Act and getting that passed in Congress. The Use It Act provides funding so that there's better means for us to do carbon capture. And so he helped greatly in getting this done. In fact, he asked me to actually testify before Congress in support. So I want to take this opportunity this morning to especially thank him for all his help in this legislation. You know, as we started doing some of our strategic planning over the course of the last year, one of the things the board asked us was, you know, I think we should talk to our members, we should listen to our members, but we should ask our members. We should inquire as our members, you know, what are your concerns? What are the most important things that we can do to help you? And so we put a full court press on. We used the Paulson Agency out of Sioux Falls to help us with this study. I think Chris told me, I think there's over 1,000 pages of data that we went through. We learned a lot. We did. And I think our members now have a lot of that information in their hands. We learned that reliability and rates are number 1 and 2, and then DGC is the third concern. You know, and getting to DGC, and I don't want to get too far into it here this morning, but we ran multiple scenarios to see what would be the best economic way to help DGC and get it over the hump. But I think the biggest thing that we did in doing that is we said we are not going to harm rates or reliability for the cost of trying to do that. And I think we have found a way. This afternoon at our all-members meeting, we are going to go through more of those things with you to show you some of those things that we have planned. And again, it's our goal, make sure that we do not harm our first and second, which is reliability and rates. But at the same time, I think we have found a path, and we're very excited to share that with our members this afternoon. And speaking with sharing with our members, you know, it's important to communicate. It's so important. You know, I think it's more important now more than ever in terms of our cooperative business model. You know, we're reliant upon each other. And if we don't communicate with each other, it's not going to be as efficient. And so we have tried to find different ways that we can communicate. We have weekly meetings with our Class A member managers. And just let me pause for a minute and say in September, we had a strategic planning session, probably the first time ever that we collaborated with our managers, with the board in a session. It was very good for both of us. And so we also want to maintain at least a minimum of 2 joint member manager meetings each year, and maybe more if we have to. You know, as I said a minute ago, I don't think it's any less important. It's more important now than ever that we visit collaboratively with our members, just because of our business model. So we are going to continue down this path. We're going to continue to evaluate more and more ways that we can do this in the most efficient and effective manner. And speaking of strategic planning, a year ago, we presented these 3 pillars to you. You know, I think a little bit on each one of them, and I don't want to have to go through a lot of them, because I think, as you recall, we had a lot of different initiatives under each. Member and employee focus, we continue with our BE Leaders program to train our employees. We continue down that path. We also, as I mentioned just a minute ago, have tried to improve the way that we communicate with our continuous improvement. I think one of the things that I have seen great success with is our process assessment team, affectionately known as the PAT team. That team has provided tremendous benefits to us. And the strategic direction, the forward look. And as I mentioned just a minute ago, we've been working very hard on this. Our members have asked us to take a look at DGC. What can you do to mitigate some of the losses that DGC's had? We're doing that. At the same time, as I said, our strategy is not to harm our rates nor our reliability in serving our members. So we continue down this path. And again, with this, tomorrow we'll be visiting a lot more with you about it and giving you a lot more detail. So in terms of sort of a dismount here, I think, you know, when I think about this, I think about our future and how bright it is. One of the things that we always talk about and I always gravitate to, when we go back to Wall Street and we visit with the rating agencies and the banks, we always go through with them our key credit strengths. And one of the questions that they always have is, what is your, or how is your relationship with your membership? And we're always so proud to say how strong it is. And you don't have any idea how much that means to them. That means a great deal to them. You know, and the positives here is we have long-term contracts. We have our rate-setting autonomy via you governing our board governing us in terms of rates. We have a very diverse and growing and strong membership base. I talked about that earlier in terms of our growth. And then, of course, what does that morph into? Well, that morphs into strong financial metrics and robust liquidity. And when I say robust liquidity, it's the ability to borrow capital to do what we need to do to be able to build out our resources. So I guess I would just like to close once again and thank our workforce. This has been a difficult year. If I were here to tell you just how difficult it was, I wouldn't have enough words to do it. I mean, we literally have employees and had employees at some of our essential employees at some of our plants who worked 44 days in a row. We had some of them putting in 24-hour straight shifts in order to keep our plants running. That's how dedicated our workforce has been. I can't tell you, we would never be standing here and be able to talk about how successful we were had we not had that, and we've had success. You know, when this came about, we went ahead and cut our budget by about $40 million in 2020. And as I stand here today, we are still ahead of that budget by about $10 to $20 million. And so without our employees standing with us and fighting hard to get through this, we would have never made it. You know, I see now my communication staff remind me that next year will be our 60th anniversary. And I'm going to date myself here a minute, but I remember very vividly the 25th anniversary. And so I guess that would tell you how old I am, but you know, I am so proud of Basin Electric and our membership and all you've done and all our employees. And I again want to thank you, the members. But I also want to stop for a minute and especially thank our board. You know, our board challenges us. They ask us very tough questions. They send us back sometimes and say, no, this isn't going to work. But you know what? They always support us. And I want to publicly thank them for their support because I don't think they understand sometimes just how much this really means. And it's that support and our working with our members and our members being able to work with us that we're in such good financial shape with stable rates. You know, we have such a bright future. I have to tell you, I wish I was 15 years younger and could do this job for 15 more years. You probably don't want that, but I would have to tell you we have such a bright future. I've never been more excited about our future. And so I'll close by again thanking you, and thank you again for joining us for our 2020 annual meeting at Basin Electric.